Hi there everybody, it's Roti here from inkabutterfly.com. Thank you so much for joining me again today for another card making video. This time we are stamping around the world with a travel themed video hop. Kind of apt, isn't it, that it's stamping around the world and it's going to be travel. So thinking cap went on and I decided to pull out this background stamp. So obviously lends itself very well to the theme, and I wanted to bring in an appropriate sentiment and everything, but didn't know what I was going to use until I got this one. So this is called Everyday Arches. It's one of the new online exclusives, and it has these little aeroplanes and it has this sentiment called Embrace the Journey, and I thought that would be perfect. So that's what we're using. A bit of mixing the old and the new to create something. So this one I'm kind of using traditional-ish colours for to make that the world map, and I've put a granny apple green base on there, bit of twine, and I've done some mixed heat embossing, so there's gold and silver on there. Okay, and that position on there, I didn't want to really cover up any of the places in the world, but that was kind of the place where it was covering less, if you know what I mean. So we can still see bits of Africa and Australia there. Okay, so we're going to recreate it, but I'm going to go a bit more sort of off piece with the colours. I'm going to do more of a sort of vintage vibe to it, and we'll see how it turns out. Okay, so with that in mind, I'm going to bring in a crumb cake card base. So this is a landscape card to fit the image. So the normal cut and score measurements, just do it the opposite way around. Cut where you would normally score and score where you would normally cut, and you'll get a top folding card that is landscape rather than portrait. That's in crumb cake. And then I'm going to work on some very vanilla. I've already punched out a modern oval in just some basic white here, because we're going to put loads of ink on that. We're not going to notice that it's white underneath. Now for the background stamp, I am going to bring in my beloved Stamparatus. Okay, and what I do need to do is just give this a quick clean. Actually, I just gave it a quick wipe when I was finishing off, but I don't think I cleaned it entirely, so there might be still a bit of green on there. So I would recommend using a stamp positioning tool if you have one for what I'm going to show you. If you're just stamping a single colour, which you could totally do, then obviously just a large block, or put it on the desk and then put your paper over the top and then cut it down to size. You can do it in lots of different ways. Well, like I say, I want to do multiple stamping in different colours, so I want to use a stamp positioning tool. Okay, so hopefully we're getting that in the shot. Okay. Ooh. Might need to back out a little bit. Let's do that. And so now that's clean. This is a slightly different size cardstock from what I used on the sample. The border on that is really skinny, so you only see a little bit of that granny apple green card base. So I've actually cut this an 1/8 of an inch smaller. The magnets are super strong on this particular tool. I'm sure they are on the others as well. And just positioning that stamp on there, picking it up with the door. Okay, and then we can ink that up. So I'm actually going to use crumb cake ink in the first instance. Okay, and this is a watercolour effect, so it's not supposed to give you a crisp image. It's supposed to be a little bit on the blotchy side, if you know what I mean. But what I do find is that it is quite nice to sort of even out the colour a little bit. This is totally optional. You could just go ahead and stamp that, but I find that using a brush over the top just sort of spreads out those pools of ink a little bit and will make it a little bit more even. But like I say, it is going to come out a bit splotchy anyway because of the nature of the stamp. Okay, right, so now we've done that, we can pop the door over the top and then use whatever gizmo you've got to apply some pressure. Okay, just something smooth. Use your shirt sleeve, you know, just, you know, bit of that, you know, so whatever you've got, just to make sure you get a really good impression. Okay, super duper. Okie dokie. In fact, that's probably better, come out better than I thought it was going to, actually. Excuse me. Right, so I'm going to bring in a bit more ink. Oh, you can see on the left. Okay, yeah, so I'm just going to pop a little bit of ink kind of in the south and in the north. This is Pecan Pie, so it's a little bit darker. And again, I'm going to sort of tap that out a little bit. I don't want that harsh edge of the ink pad to show. I don't know whether that comes up on camera, but just blending that out a little bit. So what we should end up with is some darker ink kind of on the edges there. Okay, just to give it a bit of definition. And oh yeah, that does come across on camera, I think. Cool, cool, cool. You could go a little bit further and add some early espresso or something like that, but I don't think we will do that on this occasion. Okay, so now that that bit's done, we can add a little bit of extra ink to the background to make it a little bit more interesting. I say you could have just stuck with the single stamp. You didn't have to double stamp it if you don't have a stamp positioner. Okay, I'm going to bring in some scrap because I want to do some ink blending. This one will do. Got a bit of brown on there already. So again, I'm not going to go with blue. I'm just going to go with the natural tones. So I'm going to bring in where's my brush? There it is. So that will have some residual ink on it from the stamping. So I'm just going to take off a lot of that. And we'll start adding a bit in, and obviously it'll be darker on that first application, but the more we add, the less ink will be on that brush. But that's fine. I don't want the dark around the edges is fine, but I don't want it too dark as I go into the middle. I just want to sort of take back the bright vanilla. Okay, and for this card I don't mind if there's a bit of brush marks on this as well, because it is the sea, okay, on our little map. Okay, and then we can start bringing in a bit more colour. So I might just bring in a little bit more of the Pecan Pie just in these sort of more open corners and around the edges. So just keep applying that until you're happy with it, really. Going a bit further on this one, and then this corner. So not necessarily looking for an even kind of look, do you know what I mean? And I think I'm just going to bring in just a touch of early espresso, just a touch. Literally just pounced the brush on and took it off again, right? Literally hardly anything. And this will just darken up those corners a little bit. just the very edge. Okay, could spritz this as well. In fact, we could do that, make it look really kind of you know, worn and weathered. So I'm just going to bring in one of these little cloths I've got, a little spritzer, and I might just put just a bit of, oh, looking for that scrap of paper, there it is, I found it. I might just pop a post-it just loosely over there, just to sort of protect the centre a little bit from that water. Okay, and then sit that for just for a second, take that away, and then we'll just blot that off. So I can see the effect of that, you probably can't on screen. Just put in a few speckles here and there, and as that dries that might become more apparent actually. Yep, there, you can see those little speckles. Okay, so that's our fun background done. So that's going to need a little bit to dry with that little bit of water on actually, which is fine because we need to do our blending on this as well. So I'm going to use exactly the same brush and that residual ink. Now, so this happens to be the early espresso that I've got here, isn't it? So that's fine. Just going to go with it, and actually that will probably give it quite a bit of some nice definition on the background. And like I say, I don't mind that it's basic white instead of vanilla. It's all going to blend in anyway. It might need a bit of pecan pie just to warm that up a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Like so. There we go. We could add a bit more across the middle. I could bring in basic beige as well to knock that back, that colour, if you wanted to. Okay, now we need to stamp on this with our embossing ink. Okay, so we are going to need to, oh, didn't get out my embossing stuff. Let's just grab that, the kit. So because we've got damp ink on there, this anti-static will one, remove the static, and also help just make sure that that's nice and dry. So I'm using the bag to hold it, so I'm not transferring more sticky fingers to it. And we'll pop that back in its little bag. Okay, we'll need clear sticky ink to do the stamping, so that will grab the powder as we tip that on. Okay, I zoomed you out, didn't I? So let's zoom you back in again. Okay, clear sticky ink. And then for the embossing, now I did gold and silver on the other one. I think we might do gold and copper for this one, just to bring in that more vintage sort of vibe to it. So I think we'll do the sentiment first. So you want to do you want to make sure that's really well inked. There is there's no real second chances with this. It's on, and if it's doesn't stamp well, you'll have to start again. Okay, so I'm just going to centre that where I want it, but a little lower than the centre because we want room for the little aeroplane to go in. So I think there's going to be good. Okay, nice firm pressure, make sure all that ink's nice and transferred. And I can just use my tweezers here. And I think we'll go copper for the sentiment. And we'll have a gold aeroplane, so we'll just jiggle that on. Tight enough in there. So just flick away any excess that may have stuck, but I think that is just the ink in the background actually that's making it look like it's little flecks of powder. And actually, even if that embossed over, it would probably look quite nice anyway. Right, I'm adding the powder. I'm not going to heat set it yet. I'm going to tip away that one. And pop the lid on that before there's a calamity. And then we're going to stamp the aeroplane. So first mark ink again. Nice and well inked. And just have that, sorry, I think my hair might have ended up in the front of the lens then. So we'll just pop that just there. So just hold it down for a second. Try and obviously avoid making contact with your powder that is not heat set yet, which means it can still fall off. Okay, so pick that up again real gently, and I can take grip of that over here because I know there's no image there. And then I'm going to tip my gold powder onto this, okay, in that corner. Because there's already powder on the wet ink for the sentiment, the powder can't cling to that. There's already, you know, the space is already occupied. So now we've got a mixed amount of embossing powder on there in 2 colours. So you can obviously do that times 3 and have all 3 on there if you wanted to for a particular card if you wanted to. And then we can just heat set that. Okay, so let's pop that out of the way now. Okay, so she's going to bring in the heat gun and warm it up. That is quite loud, so if you wanted to mute the sound on that, then by all means do so. Only takes a minute, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and I'm hoping that you'll be able to see it change on the screen, which is super cool. Okay, so I'm going to get this heat gun all warming up for a few seconds, and then bring it to the cardstock. Okay. Okay, so you just hold it long enough for that powder to melt and go smooth. Don't hold it on any longer. You might scorch it, or it might just sort of sink into the paper. It's a bit of a bizarre thing that happens if you overheat it. Okay, try it out if you've not heat embossed before. Just get a small stamp, something like that. Aeroplane's perfect. You don't waste a lot of powder. Most of it goes back in the tub, as you've seen. So just try it out on some scrap paper, and you'll be good to go. I'm just gonna clean my work surface a little bit. Some ink transferred across from something. So I'm just gonna make sure that's nice and clean. There we go. Right, and this should be nice and dry now as well. So we can add our twine. So I'm going to take out this nice Baker's Twine Essentials pack. You get 5 colours. So white, fairy vanilla, black, grey granite, I think that is, and then crumb cake. Okay, could use the vanilla actually. That might brighten it up a little bit. Thought I was going to use the crumb cake one. Let's use the vanilla. And I think we'll just use a bit of tape to help secure that. I'll get that ready. And I haven't used this one before, so you have to sort of just find an edge somewhere. So we want this about 1 inch from the bottom. So I'm just going to pop that there and just secure that in place. And we'll go around a couple of times. Oops, I thought the spool was going to end up on the floor then. Right. Okay. That's gone round twice. We'll secure that on the back. And trim that down. Oh, am I still zoomed in? Oh, I'm a little bit, aren't I? There we go. Right, I don't mind if that's uneven or whatever, it's fine. Can do what it needs to do. But because we've got the bulk behind there, we are going to have to put that up onto some dimensionals, and I do need another length to do my little knot as well. So let's have some dimensionals. Almost come to the end of this sheet. There's these little edge pieces that we can use as well. Okay, and now I'm not using these edge pieces. I've got something coming up to use that. Okay, so I've got some more here though. This other sheet. Oops. And we'll just put a couple in the middle. So don't waste these little offcut strips and all that. All good. All still works. Okay, so we'll take off all these back ends. Oops, almost done. So what happens when you cut your nails? You haven't got any grip on your bits and pieces. Rightio. So let's pop that on the card base. That looks about right. Okay, and then for this one, because we're going see, I don't really want to obliterate the whole of South America, do you know what I mean? So it feels like this is the place where at least we can see all the continents, but as I just we lose Madagascar though. Okay. And then, so like I say, we just want those to be top and bottom, so that we're not trying to stick that over that twine basically. So I'm just going to use my minis for that. Let's put 3 like that, get those off. Oops. Those little ones are a little bit more fiddly than the big ones. So we'll pop that somewhere around there. And it's off centre, and I don't mind that either. You know, I like things that are at a quirky kind of angle. I'm going to wrap this around just one of the strands. Just going to use some tweezers to help me do that. Just grabbing my take your pick tool, because what I want to do is tie a knot and then separate out the strands of the twine. It's a bit like you know, embroidery floss. It's made up of lots of strands, so you can kind of untwist it a little bit in your fingers if you can find the right direction, and you can use the little the point of the in fact actually it's a bit too long at the moment, but for the purpose of the video we'll just leave it like that, and then you can just sort of untangle those threads, just untwist it, okay, and you can give it that sort of more frayed look. Okay, you might need to do it a couple of times just to undo those strands more completely, but you've got time to do that at your leisure when you are making your version of this card. Okay, so I'll cut that down. Okay, and that's it, job's done. So this is my travel themed card for our Stamp Around the World video hop. There's going to be links in the description to everybody else who's participated, so do check it out and see what everyone else has made with that theme. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you like the mixed embossing and the two sort of style versions of this card. Okay, links in the description, as I say, and thank you for joining us today. Do stay safe, take care, and I'll see you somewhere online very, very soon. Bye bye.